Reconnect Jigawa page din kenan. To, alhamdulillah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. You are welcome to an online discussion to celebrate 30 years anniversary of Jigawa State. Here we have the co-moderator in person of Garba Muhammad Aisara Gamsarka, who is going to be my colleague or a younger brother who is going to co-moderate this event. We have in our midst the distinguished senator, a 2 times deputy governor of the state, the attorney general of the state, and SSG of Jigawa State. I don't think there is any single individual in the state that get this privilege to be to get all this in one man. Barrister Ibrahim Hassan Hadeje, you are welcome. We have our father.
Thank you very much for having
father of Reconnect Jigawa, Honorable Yusuf Megari, who was also a one-time Commissioner of Agriculture of the state. And we have Honorable Bala Usman Chamo. We have Honorable Bala Usman Chamo, who is the Algon chairman and the chairman of Duse local government in Jigawa State. He is also here with us. We are waiting for Dr. Noura Muhammad, a one-time senator of the Federal Republic, to also join us. He's the second speaker or the second presenter. I would like to call upon my younger brother, that is Garba Muhammad Aisara Gamsarka, to give us or to link us with Rankai Daɗe Sarkin Auyan Hadeja Alhaji Umar Muhammad Baffa Auyo. Please, Garba, send him the link so that I can add him to the studio.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have sent him the link. I'm waiting for him to join.
Okay. So if that is the case, I think we can invite, because Sarkin Auyan Hadeja is supposed to give us the opening prayer and word of advice as a father. But since he is not on the studio yet, I think we can go ahead and invite His Excellency, the distinguished Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja, to give us a keynote address for this important online event. Sir, you can go ahead with your keynote address.
Well, thank you very much, Murtala. Even though my expectation was that I was going to make remarks and not a keynote address. But all the same, I think it may not be out to combine both functions and to welcome everybody who is participating. From here, I don't know how many people are online, but I'm certain based on the publicity given the event, we'll have quite a number of interested participants. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and just to say that for some of us who have had the privilege of serving in Jigawa, who have had the honor working at various levels, like introducing me, I think we owe Jigawa a lot. But we see anything that is geared towards Jigawa's development and progress, I think it will be inappropriate for us to not to give our full participation. I've looked at the papers, and I think given the needs to be added. My thinking is that this will probably be interactive. People might be given a chance to participate, maybe to ask questions, maybe to give contributions. All I ask is that we please try to remain civil and note that we are celebrating Jigawa today. And if you are from Jigawa, anything you say or do will reflect on Jigawa state itself. Barrister, sorry, Balachamo is going to talk about Jigawa then and now. So I guess we are going to have the historical perspective covered. Dr. Ding is supposed to be talking about the imperative of a youth manifesto, which I think is very, very important. There's a lot of hue and cry about youth participation in politics and in governance. If you really want to actively participate in something, make a change, then I think it's only fair for people to expect to see your plans and your manifesto towards achieving that change. So I think Dr. Nura's topic about unity and cumulative development. And I believe there's no better person to discuss this than Megari. I think he covers both the technocratic side and the academic side. I've had
Very sorry, please. I don't know.
Mala Yusuf, can you on your mic?
Once it
Mala
rains,
Yusuf
it
Begari.
is.
Yes, thank you.
But okay. Welcome back, sir.
thank you very much. It looks like we had a technical hitch.
Yes, sir.
It seems.
Yes. So I was just my opening remarks, last for discussion, and expressing my confidence in the person that has been saddled with this responsibility. For me, I think it will be an opportunity for me to sit back and pick as much as I can on issues of development, on issues of unifying our state, so on and so forth. Like I said, I hope it will be productive. And while we are on this discussion, and we pick and point the issues at stake, we showcase the problem that we think are bedeviling Jigawa. Let us try and propose solutions. We're very good at criticizing, but sometimes if you criticize, you just end up confusing the person you are trying to help. So let us, I hope that we'll hear solutions, we'll hear suggestions, we'll tap into the energy, the proactivity, the innovation that is associated with our youth. And also, I hope we'll also learn to accept and be grateful for the blessing that Allah has bestowed on Jigawa State. Today, as we speak, Jigawa is one of the few states that you can say is relatively secure in this country. This could be through prayers, this could be through proactivity, government, this could be through luck of geography, whatever it is. I think it's very, very important for us to acknowledge that without security, there's not much you can achieve. If you have the best leader in the world and he's battling security, moving between banditry and terrorism, there's very little room for development. In fact, every time you have a lull in activity, then it becomes a time for celebration. So I think we should really, really thank us. I am eternally grateful to Allah for placing us where He has. Personal stories to share. When you are telling people, they think that it's unbelievable. I recall during my campaigns, we round up our campaigns around 3, 4 in the morning. Sometimes we pray Subi prayer before coming back to base. Once in a while, I call some of my colleagues I remember calling the now Deputy Senate President about 2:30 in the morning and telling him that we are leaving 1 billion, and he still could not believe it. And he was telling me that if you don't wrap up what you are doing in Delta by 5, then nobody can guarantee your safety. So some of these things we take for granted, because so literally you can still wake up even as we speak in Jigawa and drive from one local government to another at 12 midnight without much apprehension. So, like I said, I call on all of us to continue to thank God for the blessing that He has bestowed on us. We have a lot going for us as a state. And, just like Nigeria, it's very easy to bash Nigeria. But then when you go outside and talk to one or two people, within and even outside the continent, they seem to see Nigeria from a different perspective. No matter what you say about Jigawa, you'll find that a lot of times when talking about other states and comparing, they are flabbergasted. And even while I was holding the deputy governorship position in Jigawa, I cannot tell you how many times we have hosted states who have come on learning trips to learn why we are doing this, to learn why we are so good in pension payments, to learn why we are so good in paying regular salaries, to find out what we are doing in healthcare, to find out what the magic is that when you look at the indices and most of the social investment programs, the guy is always ahead, whether it's cash transfer or whatever it is. So let's thank God for the situation we have found ourselves. In so doing, nobody is perfect. There's always room for improvement. And like I said, let us try to be constructive in our criticism and proper solutions. Any leader worth his salt will not close his ears to constructive criticism. That is my take. So, Murtala, like I said, you did not give me enough notice to prepare a keynote address. I think I will take this
Thank you so much,
as an extended welcome. Be available during the course
thank
of the
you
program,
so much, sir.
if need be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are very grateful, sir. Sarkin Awe is with us, and I think, sir, you can follow the program is going to be interactive, inshallah. It is on our Facebook page, whereby people can comment and the presenters can answer their questions on that platform. And we have the maximum of taking 6 people at a time. I think I will relieve you, sir, from the studio, but you can be with us on the Facebook page, and Sarkin Awio will give us the opening prayer, which is after we already started the program, sir. You are welcome, Nemartaba Sarki. Barka da dare.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for joining you late. Please. It's due to some micro technical issues, but I'm with you now. So we salu an nabiyu.
Okay,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim.
Bismillah the sha'ani azim burhan shadidul sultan. Mashallah kana uz billahi minash shaitan. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله. ما شاء الله. Can carry on, please.
Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah.
I think there is a piece of advice after the opening prayer. As the father of the day, Mimartaba Sarki. Yeah.
So, Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. If at least the ladies, I believe the ladies person listening to us. So I'm very happy to be part of this program. It's a very, encouraging matter for Jigawa State. We are witnessing this August issue of marking 30th anniversary of Jigawa State. We are very proud to be part of Jigawa, especially with the contribution of our elders and the youth. I can tell you, Jigawa is actually one of the best state in the country, most peaceful state in the whole of this nation, because of the unity in the diversity we have. And I believe this kind of program will encourage us to be more united in whatever endeavor we wish to pursue. So I'm very happy to be part of this program, and we're very proud to be part of Jigawa, as I said. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide us and help our leaders for the development of this state. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
Mai Martaba Sarki. We are grateful, and I think you can follow us on our Facebook page for the continuation of the program, as you are also leaving the studio now for the presenters. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are very much grateful. Okay. Dr. Nura Hadeja, are you with us? I want to add you to the studio. Use the link that I sent to you and join us, please. I can see you were trying to call me. Garbo is also offline. I'm inviting both Dr. Nura and Garba to be with us so that we can continue with the okay. Okay. Garba, your device is not connected. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It is raining down here in Kazaure. That is why we are having this technical hitch. But inshallah, we will come it. Garba, go ahead. Go ahead to introduce Baba Yusuf Megari for his presentation. Go ahead to introduce Baba Yusuf Megari for his presentation. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello?
Malan Garba, please, can you go ahead and introduce Malan Yusuf?
Yes, are you people hearing me now?
Yes, please. You are very audible.
Introduce Baba Yusuf Megari.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We are so delighted for answering our invitation here. Malam Baba Yusuf Megari, as he was introduced earlier during the beginning of the program, he was the former agricultural commissioner of agriculture, Jigawa State, and he recently retired as the director, Manpower Development Institute, Jigawa State. I think this is the little I can say about him, but I'm very sure those that are following us are going to benefit from his reservoir of knowledge. Thank you very much. Hello?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you, please. But a bit louder.
Okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli.
Can you increase your volume, sir?
Okay.
We are not hearing you, sir.
Okay. Is Ana Gina?
Yes, a bit
Yes,
louder.
sir.
Yeah.
Ana Gina clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
somehow.
Okay. All right.
Kamar mic ɗinka ne baba baya kusa da inda kake magana.
Okay. Yanzu ana jin magana ta sosai.
Kamar mic ɗinka ne baba baya
Eh,
kusa da yawa.
Ana iya ji.
ana iya ji
Yes,
yanzu, amma not as clear as.
you need to be louder, sir.
Okay. To a ba mu dan seconds mu dan gyara.
You need to be louder, sir.
We'll make it better soon.
Can you use earpiece or
Is it
headphone?
clear now?
Yeah, it's audible, but not
Ina
that
zu
clear,
ne.
please.
But
Zook should help Baba out, please. Who is close?
to gashi.
Baba ina yaran gidan ne wani ya yawa.
Wani yana da ni na earphone ɗina ba shi da mic.
Wani ya helping din mu out because time is not on our
One
side.
anyway.
Yes.
Yes, sir. To yanzu ana ji na?
Yes, sir,
Hello?
but still the
Ana ji.
volume.
Ana ji sosai
Hey?
better than that.
Yes, how, somehow.
It's better. It's better. Ko?
It's better,
It's
of course,
better.
better.
It's better. Ci gaba kawai.
Okay, to shi kenan. Okay, to my paper is going to be very brief, of course, because I've been given only 15 minutes to deliver it. But I will try as much as possible to highlight the main key points. It's about the imperative of collective intelligence and system thinking for development of Jigawa State and the nation. Of course, the line objectives are that I will define the key terms, and then we will discuss collective intelligence, system thinking, system intelligence, social development, and sustainability of the people. That is in conjunction with all the key terms. And then we should be able to identify and give examples about mindset, uh, planning methods, application, and concepts, and benefits of adapting all those key points we will discuss. And then, of course, we'll list and categorize systems thinking competencies and how to apply them to attain collective empowerment and societal development in Jigawa State. By way of introduction, system thinking has the potential of, creating a situation of peaceful living for Jigawa State people because we are living in a federal system whereby it is allowable for us to create our own system that will be unique and advantageous to our own people. So we have that chance. And of course, designing and creating, an imaginable attainable future for our own people is very important. And implementing it, as a unique system will run our affairs better, improve our bureaucracy, administrative laws, policies, and what have you. And both political, social, and economic development of our states will all be positively affected. And then, in fact, the reasoning behind this presentation is to invite people, especially the youth, uh, to imbibe the spirit and accept system thinking and its practical, realistic rules, which we'll all discuss very soon, in order to make our own state prosperous in this particular country. And by the grace of God, we'll strive to do just that. And then also, know that we shall come across other related terms that are often interchangeably used with system thinking. That is system approach, system theory, system models, and what have you. Definition of terms. We will have to define some of the key terms we intend to use. For example, collective intelligence, which means creating a focused, convergent thinking from the easier occurring divergent thinking of many individuals, which is what is prevalent all over. And then, of course, we will discuss some element of collective stupidity, which is a negative aspect of lack of uh, collective thinking, and it means the opposite of collective intelligence, i.e., we are repeating the same societal mistakes generation and generation over, while progress is happening vividly
Mm.
elsewhere. That means we are collectively
God help
stupid.
me, I came here.
And
Because I wouldn't have access. This email. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah, the PDF and stuff. So I can talk, I can read from here while they see me. Yeah.
am I not being heard? Do you have problem hearing me, please? Hello,
Oh,
hello.
okay.
And I can hear you.
You can hear me now. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you.
Okay, very
I
good.
can I can hear you too.
Okay, and you can also see my slides clearly.
No, I
Can it?
can't.
You can see the slides. I'm
Yes,
sharing
sir.
my screen with you. Can you see the slides of my presentation? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Please, we should off our mic because of distraction.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you, sir, but
I can hear you from here.
All right. Can you also see my screen?
No, I
yes, sir.
can't.
Okay.
Because I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Now,
Okay. Let me check.
we should please off our mic because of distraction.
Assalamu alaikum. Baba, ba naifin volume din wannan ɗinka bane ba?
Na ƙara volume din ai.
Saboda, okay,
Ana jin shi
kamar
sosai saboda
mic ɗinka ne,
distraction.
kamar,
My
okay, to dukkan mu in muka yi muting,
Yawwa,
maybe za a fi ji
muting.
daga wannan.
duka kuna ji na yanzu?
Muna jin ka kowa ya kashe mic ne saboda distraction.
Okay. Kuma kuna ganin
Mu yi
screen dina?
muting.
Kuna ganin screen
A'a.
dina because it's very important.
No, sir,
Ko?
we are not seeing your screen.
To ina zuwa. Dan ba da kwamfuta ta nake aiki ba, kwamfuta ta tana da program ta yaro na ce. Kira mu Imran. Uh-huh. Na sani a kirawo abin nan. Kirawo Imran. Kwamfutar shi.
Sir, you should continue before he is here to help.
Okay, can you hear me while I
Yeah,
continue?
maybe you should just go ahead. I'm so
Okay.
sorry
Yes,
about
sir, go
that.
ahead.
Okay, even without seeing my screen. Okay. Okay, I'm on the definition of terms. I've talked about collective intelligence, collective stupidity, system thinking, and system intelligence, which means a good system that seems to possess a mind of its own and appear to be correcting itself, like the natural operation of a market, even without intervention. And then a system in itself, what is its definition? It's an entity that is more than the sum of its own parts. That is, it has synergy and has resilience for redefining and changing situation to create systemic progress, maintenance, and sustainability. More on collective thinking is about collective intelligence, which is wisdom, knowledge that grows out of groups or community, people working together to create a type of intelligence that is beyond the individual level, which is really, phenomenal, in which the intelligence of each individual merges into a larger form of intelligence. And then, of course, collective intelligence is also related to making decisions together, forming consensus, crowdsourcing different ideas and questions, motivating people, via healthy level of competition and wonderful results of synergy. And then, of course, uh, individual intelligence and collective intelligence, when you compare them, it's really a kind of an ability to achieve unity of purpose, action, thoughts, so that from individual intelligence, uh, we move to collective intelligence, and that's where what we are trying to do. So finally, there are also volunteer minds, people, who come together to form the initial collective intelligence think tank, which will influence the whole society, because uh, of the common pools of knowledge they create, and could be accessed by all members for the consensus acceptance and the implementation. So the next slide is going to be a kind of how we can source our collective intelligence. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Not yet. No, sir.
You can't see my screen.
Yes.
Without seeing my screen, you cannot see what I'm trying to explain about a diagram that I have designed, you know.
Baba,
Okay,
Baba,
shall we, shall we?
have you added your screen? But just go ahead because I cannot see anywhere where you are trying to add your screen. Have you tried it?
Let me retry it again, because it's very important. Otherwise, the presentation is not going to be interesting at all. Can you see the screen now? Can you see my screen?
No, it's not showing.
Is it showing now?
Not yet.
Okay, then I have to call the owner of the computer. My computer could not do the work. That's why I use my voice. Maybe he will assist. If there's anybody, please to continue. Allow me this time so that I can make these corrections. If there's anybody online who can take over. Idan akwai wani murtala wanda zai ci gaba da Allah ya dauka kafin mu wannan gyara da kai, akwai technical matsala a computer ta bace.
Baba, sorry, please, just you can go ahead.
Is it possible we take Dr. Nura or Bala while he sorts out technical issues?
I have technical issues.
Yes. Can we do that?
Yes, please.
Baba, can we go to the second speaker before you sort out your...
Before I sort out the problems. Please.
Doctor.
Malam Murtala.
Please start.
introduction. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, Madam Murtala.
Malam Murtala yana da network problem.
Hello, doctor.
Murtala, assalamu
We
alaikum.
can hear you.
Alaikum salam. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you. Honorable Bala Usman Chamo is also trying to come up. You check the chat. Malam Murtala.
Garba.
Nan?
Garba.
Yo,
Garba, can you hear me?
Sir.
Please introduce
Yes, I
Dr.
can hear
Nura
you,
to
sir.
go ahead for his presentation. Introduce Dr. Nura to go ahead with his presentation. Introduce Dr. Nura to go ahead with his presentation.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Nuruddin Muhammad, a medical doctor who specializes in psychology. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Dr. Nuruddin Muhammad, a doctor of psychology, after some period of service as our state. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
I said,
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you. I can hear
Malam
you.
Murtala, can you hear me? Hello?
I think Murtala is disconnected. There's just three of us in the studio at the moment.
I can hear the distinguished senator and I can hear you, Isara.
Yeah, I think there are just three of us at the moment. We seem to have lost Murtala.
Hello, can you
What I
hear me?
suggest is that you conclude your introduction. Maybe Dr. Nura can
Let me join
go ahead
again.
with his paper,
The
because
network is
everyone
bad.
else, I believe, out there can hear us.
Yeah. Distinguished senator, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear?
Well, it looks like we've lost both moderators. and we're alive. Okay, I think Mursala is coming back. Alam Mursala, are you with us now?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay. I think Dr. Nura.
Madam Musa, if I can suggest, please, I don't think we need further introduction before because of the issue at hand.
Just let us start, right?
Yes, I think just go ahead and then continue. I suggest. That's
Okay. So, doctor, go ahead, please. Go ahead. It's okay.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Our elders, the Sarkin Awayo of Hadeja. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, doctor.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Our elders, the Sarkin Awayo of Hadeja.
We can hear you.
Distinguished.
Very much audible.
Okay. The distinguished Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja. My co-presenters, Baba Megari and my good friend Chamu. Of course, the moderators and those listening to us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
I'm actually overwhelmed with an acute sense of emotions as I stand here to speak before your distinguished selves. Of course, I'm joyed and I'm humbled, I'm proud and even apprehensive, kind of. Of course, grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, happy to be part of this historic moment and humbled by my choice, of course, out of millions. And of course, your distinguished selves to be part of the presenters. While there are apparently multitude of reasons to ruminate and get and feel proud over Jigawa, there are equally enough reasons to ruminate and get apprehensive about the future. Thankfully, that future is what we are here to discuss today. I will accordingly, like most profoundly, to thank and congratulate the organizers of this program, the New World Youth Initiative, for their thoughtful and timely initiative. Of course, as we all know, Jigawa was created on the 27th of August 1991 by the administration of the former military president. So Jigawa is 30 years today. When we were created out of Kano, Kano was only 24. So Jigawa is today 6 years older than her mother when she bore her. So we are therefore no longer a new state by all definitions. I think we should get over the naming ceremony mood. We are not a new state. We are not a young state. We are 6 years older than our mother when she gave birth to us. The new world, as Jigawa is prophetically called, is 30 years. It therefore means the state, like all other entities, must have passed through its mandatory learning curves in its quest to firmly establish itself within the larger national ecosystem. The question today is, what should Jigawa do differently, I think, in the next 30 years? We have done our best in the last 40 years. So what do we do differently now in the next 30 years? Sorry, I'm having my own technical glitch, but I will sort it out now.
But you are clear, sir.
Yeah, I'm having my own technical glitch with my slides. I have some slides that I used to coordinate my thoughts. Sorry about that. I'm not very computer compliant like Senator and Murtala. Very sorry, please.
We are with you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to locate my okay. So as I was saying, we have the youth in Jigawa, unlike in other states, they cannot complain of being excluded from leadership. Of course, the first executive governor of Jigawa State was a youth, I think around 32 years old. The coming back of democracy, His Excellency Alhaji Samani Ibrahim Traiki, I think he was in his mid-30s. And it was the sojourn of His Excellency Alhaji Samani Ibrahim Traiki that brought other youths, which are here with us now as elders, into leadership opportunities. Most remarkably, the distinguished senator that came in as Commissioner of Justice, and then later as Secretary of the State Government, and of course the Deputy Governor twice, and now a Senator. And of course, Baba Megari himself, I'm sure at the time he was Commissioner in 1999 or 2003, perhaps he could qualify to be called a youth. And of course, some of us too, we are products of such experiments in Jigawa, you know. And a lot of people can remember how His Excellency Sir Lamido, you know, brought some of us to the national limelight. And of course, we have Balachamo here, who is a chairman of the whole Duse local government, the whole state capital. And I think he's still a young man. And I also understand that most of the local council chairmen are still young. Yeah, most of them are within the youth bracket. And of course, I think this is deliberate. I was discussing one point with His Excellency, the Executive Governor, and he said they are building a pool to draw from, a pool of youth in leadership, to draw future leadership from. So we have no reason to complain in Jigawa. I think our founding fathers and our elders, the elder brothers and our parents' generation, they are prepared adequately for these challenges ahead. There wouldn't have been this platform if not for the opportunities given for leadership for youth in Jigawa. So the youth, by popular definition, of course, are those between the ages of, I think, 17 to 35. But in Nigeria, even people 47 years old, you still find them calling themselves youth, and it has been normalized. So the projected population of Jigawa is about 5.83 million, and 70% of that is under 40. This makes Jigawa the 8th most populous state in the country. This population is relatively young, with a median age of about 18.4. These are academic details. But the reality is, in all human societies, each generation, as a distinct epoch, will have its unique challenges, and from that will flow its unique roles and how history will both record and remember it. We have the first generation of Nigerians who struggled for our decolonization. We have the post-independence elites and the Civil War period. And we have those who struggled to democratize Nigeria. That's the democracy we're enjoying today. There are people who, in their youthful age, dedicated their lives to fight for this democracy. And then, of course, there are those who fought for these state creations. And I think it's one of their successes that we're here to celebrate today. So what next for our generation? The youth of today, what should they do? How should they look at the future? What should they plan for? Jigawa is part of what is today northern Nigeria. And of course, hundreds of years before Nigeria existed, most not, if not all, the territory referred to as the North was an organized, competitive, and industrious society. First as largely the Hausa city-states, and later the Sokoto Caliphate. We had a well-organized central governance structure with reliable mechanism to support any system of administration. The reason why the British chose to roll us indirectly is because they found suitable governance structures on ground. Our legal system was robust even before the British, well adapted and culturally compliant to our time and our people. Security was tight, and everyone was accountable and accounted for. The economy, heavily reliant on agriculture, was booming. Our ancestors trade far and wide to the east, up to the Mediterranean Sea, and up to the shores of the Atlantic in the west. They settled and established prosperous communities that are still relevant till today. Scholarship was awesome. Volumes of sophisticated literature in science, medicine, sociology, law, and family were produced by indigenous intellectuals for more than 100 years before British arrived in our shores. A dedicated system of education, the so-called Almajiri system, was both cherished, respected, and protected by the establishment and the communities. It produced intellectuals and philosophers of global reckoning, spread Islam, and enabled literacy system that was well on course until it was deliberately frustrated. The little scholars, known as Almajiris, and their teachers were fed, accommodated, and respected by all. The magnificent Badala, or Ganwa as some cities call it, is a testimony to the ingenuity of our forefathers. They carefully built those tens of miles imposing walls that could rival the pyramids of Egypt and the great walls of China without any earth-moving equipment. We had melted aluminium to provide both for our defense, agricultural, and domestic needs. We had gin cotton and tanned the leather to sufficient levels that our colonial lords didn't meet us naked, but proudly and appropriately clothed. We're a proud and virtuous people, and to subdue us, the British had to fight acrimonious and bitter wars with casualties on both sides. So I think despite the confusion and the near anarchy of the present day, those proud values and virtues are still with us. The people referred to as Jigawa people, even in today's Nigeria, we're still known for our modesty, humility, honesty, respect, simplicity, honest, contentment, peacefulness, and generosity. We aren't the most peaceful state for nothing. We are not just peaceful for nothing. I think these are the virtues that contributed to that peace. This is our heritage and collective history. We're good people with a great civilization who are destined, I think, for even more and greater greatness. We must, with all sincerity, concede that the first 2 to 3 generations of Jigawans have done their absolute best. I want to say that they have done their very best in the best way they can. I also strongly believe that they must have also responded to the challenges of their times in the best ways possible, perhaps within the limits of their individual capacities, history, mindsets, and other enablers, most especially technology and the information at their disposal. Though it is true that things could have been much better, but it's also true that things could have been much worse also. More schools have been built where none existed before. Roads, bridges, and an airport have been built across the state. More hospitals are established and indigenous manpower provided to an extent. Transportation is better and faster, even if not safer. Schools, colleges, and universities exist where none existed a couple of years back. Today we proudly have 3 universities in Jigawa State, a degree-awarding College of Education, state and federal polytechnics, colleges of nursing, and schools of midwifery, and an informatics institute. This is quite impressive. And as I said at the beginning, in leadership opportunities, the youth of Jigawa have fared much better than those of any other state in Nigeria, I think, in recent times. The first executive governor of Jigawa was Barrister Ali Saad Kudu, a talented lawyer in his early 30s. Alhaji Saminu Turaki became governor in his state when he was barely 35 years old. Turaki's youthful energy and dynamism introduced Senator Ibrahim Hassans, who equally as young man was a commissioner and SSG, a deputy governor, as I narrated. It was also the same son, that identified brands like Honorable Baba Yusuf Megari. I'm sure at that time he was no more than 50 perhaps, so you could hide within the youth demography in Nigeria.
I was 39.
Exactly. So, it was also the same. It was also the excellence, radical views and the progressive mindset of Sule Lamido that I think projected some of us to national limelight. Then entered the youth-centric disposition of the present administration. His Excellency, the Executive Governor Alhaji Badr Abubakar, has once confided in me in a private conversation that he wants to create a new generation of leaders out of the young people of today. There's no better testimony to this good intention of His Excellency than the Bala Chamos in our midst. And I also understand that most of your colleagues, Bala, in the remaining 26 LGAs are also young people. I would therefore wish to, at this juncture, actually pay a glowing tribute to our leaders, past and present, in their individual commitments and passion for the growth of Jigawa youth. I was discussing with a very senior statesman who actually wrote the memo for the creation of Jigawa. And he was telling me what situations were during their time, some 60 years back. He had to trek from Jahun to Kawa to catch a bus to Kano. And of course, my father was telling me that the only doctors he knew when he was in primary school were whites. So we can see how much time have changed and how our parents come to feel accomplished by what they have achieved. Now the elder statesman has about 3 opportunities of going to Kawa on a well-tarred road from Kano. And of course, my father didn't die without seeing the reality of Black doctors. And 3 of us, his children, also became medical doctors in his lifetime. So I understand the sense of accomplishment. But a generation that watched when the first car moved past their communities may not be able to conceive and deliver speed train. A generation that knew only fax machines and typewriters may not be able to conceive and deliver smart schools, smart learning, and smart curriculum. My father and his generation, who had in their formative years thought only whites could be doctors, may not be able to conceive a universal health coverage, and let alone apply robots and artificial intelligence into our healthcare. A generation that didn't learn molecular biology and biotechnology in school may not be able to conceive and deliver modern agricultural and food production practices. A generation that had felt secured with the native authority, police, may not be able to respond to global terrorism and transnational crime. A generation that didn't know codeine, rohypnol, and tramadol will naturally look helpless in the wake of drug crisis of the magnitude that we are faced with today. Definitely, problems of the 2020s cannot be solved with the mindsets, orientation, and education of the 70s. It is accordingly the sole responsibility of the youth today, my generation, some of you here, to draw inspiration from our past history, understand our present difficulties, then imagine, plan, and consciously march into the future we so desire. Of course, we all know the problems we face today. Security, though we are still the most peaceful, but we must not take that for granted either. Our neighbors are challenged, and it's just a matter of time if things continue to go south that we are also consumed. Our poverty also speaks for itself. We currently so poor among us in Jigawa that those of us who are rich will have to run to Kano to enjoy their money. We also keep our best houses, investments, cars, and even favorite wives away from the state. Poverty will have been the single most important unifier of our people if we only knew. Of course, our NBCs in education are the same. Out of school children, gender parity in education, health, we are still at 52 years of life expectancy. July this year, there was the National Center for Disease Control announced about 528 deaths from cholera. And most of these cases are from northern Nigeria, notably with Jigawa included. Gender issues, we know the gender disparity in both education and empowerment among our people. Drug issues, northern Nigeria is sinking, and Jigawa is not excluded. Adult destitution and imaginary child. I think I would like to say a few things here. The sight of grown-up adults and hungry, unkempt, and barefooted children with their signature balls, almajiri, moving around our major cities is a permanent stain in the conscience of all of us, not only in Jigawa, in the whole of northern Nigeria. And childbearing age women doing same. You see childbearing age women now doing same, while carrying along their toddlers, grown-ups, and babies. It's simply devastating. These are our people who, for reasons of diseases, poverty, deprivation, ignorance, and sometimes even lack of self-right, engage in a behavior that is almost exclusively the preserve of our people. We are
sorry, Doctor. Hello, Doctor. Time is not on our side.
The problem is you didn't give me time. You didn't give me the time.
We said 15 minutes, and we have already 5 minutes has already elapsed. Maybe in the next 5 minutes you can round up and
there's no injury time.
that is the injury time.
I think there's some noise. Okay. As I was saying, we're a people of great history. We're a people of great history, compassion, and Islamic civilization. Children are protected human beings. Children are protected human beings, and the Holy Quran is a sacred book. How then do we forsake the little ones among us who of all books they are studying the Holy Book? There are elements of injustice in the Al-Majri enterprise. In one part to the children, and on the other to the Holy Book itself. How we grow this careless, and they still think we could carry the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still baffles me, actually. Sheikh Usman Danfodio had famously said, a society can endure disbelief, but not injustice. The society of our forefathers that had respected the Holy Quran and its scholars didn't witness as much fitna as we witness today. The Sheikh was right. We will never endure if we didn't change our ways. So we have problems of environment, traditional institutions, religious institutions. I might bold to say that today probably Jigawa has the most enlightened, patriotic, and progressive set of emirs in Nigeria. But unfortunately, in areas of policy, governance, and overall social development, these traditional institutions are more or less redundant and grossly underutilized. And that's largely the case across the country. While at the same time, we remain totally ignorant and clueless of the utility of religious clerics, their places of worship, and the opportunities both can offer for a positive social engineering. Today, our traditional establishment, our religious institutions are barely tolerated. only for the fear of their political consequences of totally neglecting them. Unity of purpose. I'm actually ashamed to say that. I always feel ashamed, actually, to say that Jigawa is not united, even when I have to accept the possibility that it could be the fact. How people who almost appear the same way, they look, speak, dress the same, eat the same, worship, marry, celebrate, mourn, entertain, and even bury their dead the same way, yet allow themselves to be bitterly divided by a very vicious elite class. Wallahi, it's beyond comprehension. I don't know how that happened. I was thinking that even our crushing poverty in Jigawa, that is so ubiquitous. Wherever you come to Jigawa, whichever angle you enter, you see poverty. That at least should have united us. Because I can understand if a people are divided between those who have and those who do not have. How can we all be so poor and yet allow those who keep us poor to steal even our unity? It's beyond comprehension to me. I think this should be a subject of social science research. Let me run through the manifestos as quick as possible to address some of these problems. First, we must keep the peace in Jigawa by all means. It's not an option. The general security situation in some of our neighboring states and across the region is of primary concern to us. Therefore, the territory referred to as the North of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should not be a hunting ground for ideological extremists, murderous criminal gangs, and other opportunistic conflict entrepreneurs. Number two, our youth must also declare that most of us were either too young or not even born to be part of the various struggles that created Jigawa State 30 years ago. But we're old enough to stand proudly today as the children that Jigawa struggled to create as she clocks 30 today. This reality shall and must reflect in our total loyalty and commitment to Jigawa. We accordingly have a simple but clear message to all those who still think we are as divided as we used to be when this journey started 30 years ago. You have please lived your lives. Please allow us just the unity of purpose. Just the unity of purpose to also enjoy our lives. Number three, our best friends must be recruited and compensated to teach from primary tertiary levels. An incompetent and poorly motivated teacher is the greatest danger to a society. Accordingly, the morale, competence, and dignity of our teachers must be our top priorities. Their recruitment, training, teaching, support, remuneration, and welfare system shall aim to be world-class. No much is too much, for goodness sake, to empower our citizens with knowledge. Those who feel otherwise should try ignorance and see. All school-age children, number 5, number 4, must be seated in classrooms. The Almajiri system cannot continue to remain in its present form and direction. The Quranic schools are as important, if not more important, than the conventional schools, and should be modernized through skills, numeracy, and broader literacy addition to its curriculum. All school-age children shall have the right to free, compulsory, and competitive basic education. The girl child, number 5, is a special child. Our noble prophet, peace be upon him, about 1,500 years ago, strongly recommended educating the girl child, which he prioritized over and above the boy. He had emphasized that educating a girl is like educating the Ummah. Predictably, about 2 of his wives and their daughter were scholars of note. Nana Asma'u, the daughter of Sheikh Usman bin Fodio, was a writer, a philosopher, and a scholar in her own rights, Who then do we look up to when our girls turn out among the least educated, the least healthy, and the most disempowered women in the world? Who are we imitating? The Prophet or the Shehu Mujaddadi? Things have to change. Where are the Nana Aishas of our community, our society? Where are the Nana Asma'us? Number 6, our curriculum shall be totally overhauled and upgraded to make our people more competitive and match new global realities of access to information, globalization, and exciting breakthroughs in biotechnology, space technology, communication, and robotic sciences. This is the only way we can create a knowledge economy, an economy that is driven primarily by the competence, skills, and inputs of individual citizens. Knowledge economy engages all citizens, multiplies employment and economic opportunities, shares prosperity, and ultimately reduces poverty and unemployment. I have Sora Uku, Banagama. Sora Uku, just 3. I'm at number 7.
Okay, in the next 2 minutes. In the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In an established knowledge economy, no citizen is left behind, let alone the millions and tens of millions that we have left behind today. Number 7, our people need to be healthier than they are presently. Women shouldn't die as much during childbirth, and more of our children should be able to celebrate their 5th birthdays in health and total well-being. Our life expectancy is embarrassing. Just our doctor to patient ratio, we must totally and immediately eradicate diseases like leprosy and BVF. Number 8, we must completely and immediately clean our neighborhoods and streets of illicit drugs and establish modern and scientifically driven rehabilitation services for the multitude that are already created. Number 9, agriculture, which employs majority of our people, contributes highest to our GDP, and directly determine our food security, must rise above 1,000 years subsistence existence. We must inject knowledge, research, innovations, and capital to completely modernize our farming. Agriculture must evolve into a business backed up with actionable agro-industrial and commodity exchange blueprints. Agri is too important to our existence in Jigawa to exist as it is today. We shall halt desert encroachment and stop excessive flooding as well. We must plant tens of millions of trees over the next 3 decades to reclaim lost land and prevent further desertification. Our major waterways should be dredged and dams created to increase their holding capacity. Lastly, we are due as a people for yet another comprehensive round of traditional and religious institutions reforms. This is very important. Some of the social and an extent, even the economic constraints that ail our development in Jigawa could definitely benefit from the reverence, stability, patriotism, and the solid network of our emirs and their emirates. So it's also the case with, if properly harnessed, the authority, legitimacy, and knowledge of our Islamic clerics and their pulpits. Jigawa must create a future where these 2 institutions will play both predictable and constitutionally guaranteed roles in our social development policies and actions.
Thank you
Finally,
so much, Doctor.
we are bearers of a great heritage and history built on the principles of competitiveness, self-reliance, sound ethics, and hard work. I shall be responsible for myself and only depend on the state to the extent that is its responsibility to me with opportunities. Begging and destitution are neither part of my culture nor religion. Those who are truly weak and the infant in the society shall be the responsibility of the state. This is social justice.
Thank you so much.
Murtala, you have caught me. You didn't tell me I had only.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We are
20
considering the
minutes.
time, and you know, Baba Yusuf Megara has to come back before that. Malam Bala Usman Chamo come for his presentation.
Right.
We are very much grateful, and this is a wonderful
share.
presentation from you, Dr. Noura Muhammad. And I think what we will do next time is to organize this kind of event for individual presenters for like an hour for each presenter, so that you can say what you want to And I'm sure Senator Ibrahim Hadeja is also waiting to come and say something again, but now I will invite Baba Yusuf Megari to continue from where he stopped before we invite Malam Balachamo and close this event. You know, an online event is sometimes not the same as a physical event where people will sit down and continue. Most of the people that are trying to join us are thinking about how their data, the electricity. Like now, there is no light in Kazauri, unfortunately. But yesterday we slept with our light, but today I don't know what comes on. Baba Yusuf Megari, you can go ahead from where you stopped from your presentation. Is it not the same problem as, because we cannot hear you? But when doctor was presenting. Ya salam.
Could be a connectivity problem. What about Balachamo? Can we get Balachamo maybe?
Yes. Can you add me? Yes, sir. I think I can go.
I can hear you.
Madam Rutula, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, am I
There
audible,
must
sir?
be something from Baba Yusuf Megari's side.
Okay, am
Is
I
it your
challenged now?
laptop? I
Hello?
can see him talking, but nobody is.
You cannot hear me?
Yeah, there's no microphone.
We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
all right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Your Excellency, distinguished Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja, Dr. Nura Mohammed, former minister, the organizers of this meeting, Malam Yusuf Megari. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I have listened carefully to all the presenters, starting from the opening remarks given by His Excellency, and of course the opening prayer led by Sarki Aoyong Hadeja. But I think I need to remind Malam Murtala that Dr. Nura is always given the last paper, or at least be allowed to give closing remarks. Because if you could remember the other time, in our last discussion, we had an issue with the time. So I think Murtala should take note in the future in case we are going to have another meeting of this nature. So my paper is to look at Jigawa then and now as the topic, but I will try as much as I could to see that I don't go academics or maybe give much of the theory. I would rather, because of the time factor, look at the experience and probably give my personal opinion on some of them and see how we can learn from the comments that comes from the presenter or maybe the moderators of our paper. When we say Jigawa then and now, I must believe we are not talking about the geography or maybe the physical nature of the state, because we know the map and the demography or maybe the geography remain the same. However, we are looking at the social activities there or maybe social development of the state. And if you're talking of the social development of that state or maybe Jigawa state as a whole, we must look at the history. The history of Jigawa, of course, starts even before the creation of the state, because there were a lot of efforts to maybe have a state independent of Kano, and many areas or maybe many local governments came up with the idea to have independent state. But fortunately for us, we got Jigawa, and it is natural for people at times maybe to have some maybe misunderstanding at the initial stage of development, because it is part of the group, process and formation processes. But for those who live around 1991 before, or maybe who have understood very well what went around, especially at the time of the creation of the state, and live through this time, will all believe that a lot of things have changed. And of course, the change of the states in terms of various variables to discuss in my presentation. I've identified some few areas to maybe highlight some of the things I noticed have changed over time, and of course have changed for the better, as I've said earlier on. One of which is the political development of the state. And at that time of creation, we were having only two political parties led by the then former head of state, General Ibrahim Badama, created by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida as NRC and PDP and SDP. And all of this political development at that time were centralized to these major opinions. However, right from the day one the state was created, I could say the same set of people, or maybe the same friends and family, continue to lead or maybe champion the political development of the state. At that time, we knew the relevance of governors, and we also knew the relevant people like former Deputy Governor Mahmoud Gumel and Ibrahim Simon Traiki and the likes. Of course, they all took part in the struggle of the creation of politics, even at that stage. And down the line, the same set of people, or maybe the same people with the same ideology, always continue to maybe lead the development of politics in that stage. But one of the most beautiful things in our political life is Jigawa remained the most politically stable, or maybe if I can say, in terms of, relationship between the politicians of the state remain very appreciable, and of course remain one of the things that everybody will emulate. If you look at the history now, states like Kano, states like Bauchi and Co., their politics, or maybe their politics, is entirely different from what we obtain in Jigawa, probably because of the prolonged understanding of the actors of politics in our state. And therefore, when we talk of probably political stability at present, that could have been traced probably to those maybe relationship that our political leaders have already been sharing. And of course, we look at other things like the infrastructure, as mentioned by Dr. Nura, and he's explained a lot, and I quite appreciate what he has done in the opening remarks. In terms of infrastructure, one of the things that I will, of course, free from bias, but it is objective, is something that one must say, is the continuity, for instance, of this particular administration. We've seen in some states, we've seen in places where governments initiate projects and terminate them, even if they are at whatever level, just because they did not initiate the same project. But we are now seeing in Jigawa State a situation whereby the governor or maybe entire administration continuing the project of their predecessors. And of course, because they understood the importance of the resources, and of course, importance of what they should do to guide their words in appreciating the work of their predecessors when it comes to political life. So in the case of infrastructure, we have mentioned here, like what Dr. Nura has said, we knew at that time not all the places or even the local government had roads, as he mentioned, but now we have in the entire state. Each of our local government connects to Dusi with a third road. From each of the local government, you can go to the state capital on a third road. And this is a very something a good indicator that yes, our government is committing to the infrastructural development of the state. And also, if you look at the education, as you mentioned, in the past we had very few primary schools, no tertiary institution before at the time of creation of Jigawa, apart from College of Education. And now we have 3 universities, and we have a degree awarding institution. We have colleges of health sciences, we have school of nursing, we have a lot of them here in Jigawa. So this means, yes, actually, in terms of the infrastructural development, Jigawa State has transformed from when it was created to probably what is the convention or maybe the contemporary state. And in fact, we are seeing a state whereby our rate of the universities, Kano has only 2 universities, Bayero University, Kano, and of course the State University. Jigawa now has 3. So this means The Jigawa State have maybe probably more number of tertiary and maybe universities, of course, than Kano. And this is because of the effort of our political leaders to maybe drive the states forward and, of course, lobby their way out to ensure that development comes to the state at whatever pace and we are seeing. So because of the issue at hand, of course, with the regulation of time, I think conclusively we can say the infrastructural developments are visible. It's very much visible in Jigawa. Even those who lived 20 years they could testify to that, to the fact that Jigawa State moved infrastructurally forward actually. And of course, one of the things that is very crucial or maybe of very good of importance is the public service. Jigawa, when we were created in 1991, many people even decided not to come back to Jigawa to serve, probably because of the assumption that Jigawa is a remote area, is a village people probably will not enjoy. But as I'm talking to you now, people from other states are coming back to reside because of the serenity and the environment created by our individuals and elders. And we have cases to mention. People from Kano are trying to move back to Duse or maybe to other places of Jigawa to invest and even reside. We have a lot of them from Bauchi, from wherever, simply because of the effort of our leaders to create that serenity and, of course, to make us understand the importance of peace across. And of course, if you're now discussing about the public service, we've engaged. HE could testify, could share with me the fact that many people, as he mentioned, many people are now coming to Jigawa to see what we are doing, to make our things, what makes our things work. And these are things actually based on the commitment of the the public service, which starts from, of course, the political class down to even the civil service. And if you look at the issue, for instance, the office I hold now, the National Social Investment Program, for instance, we are doing very well. And as at present, we are the highest, we have the largest beneficiary number of cash transfer, for instance. We have 167,000 households who are receiving 10,000 naira every 2 months. So every of these 2 months, more than 1.6 billion naira is given. And this actually happened not because the federal government decides to pay Jigawa. It started from the commitment of the state leadership. When the governor established the office, he made sure that, and he warned us that every student of Jigawa should enjoy the benefit of this program, regardless of whether he is from this party or whichever party. And that actually sent a signal. And HE was in charge, the deputy senator was in charge at that time. And that's the same instruction he was giving us. And people were pressing them and said, please, this is a political program. We should allow politics to influence the benefits. But they refused. And that actually informed what we are benefiting from the program. If you look at all the sectors we are doing, so with this kind of, commitment and passion for maybe generosity for the entire people of Jigawa, certainly that what might have informed our political and even civil servant to learn from their principle that yes, every Jigawa deserves to get what is supposed to be given in the public service. And I think we also mentioned about issue of peace. Yes, sir, I think those who live in 1992, 93, 95, Jigawa was a bit recorded number of crises, especially around Guri area. Fulani crisis almost is a kind of annual event, but because of the intervention of the governments of the state, right from 1999 down to the present administration, a lot of committees were set up, and a lot of interventions were given. A lot of programs were created, and even up to now, we see what the state and federal government is doing to make sure that peace becomes permanent in those areas. And of course, the continued engagement of the traditional institutions and of course the local communities has greatly improved on the serenity of peace. And as mentioned by Dr. Nura, I think the most cardinal, the most essential things that probably informed the peace of the state is about the justice that we are seeing and the collective respect and dignity displayed by our leaders. We've seen in places where leaders, especially between the successors and the predecessors, are having problems. They are not even in talking terms. They could not even sit in one place in just our neighbors. But in Jigawa State, we know the relationship between Lamido and Simon Traki, and we know the relationship between Governor Badru Abubakar and with his predecessor, Governor Lamido. So this shows that, yes, even though there are political differences, but they respect one another, And that actually creates opportunity for us and everybody to understand, yes, it is better we enjoy the peace we have than, of course, to maybe engage in anything that is chaotic in our existence. And of course, I think one of the areas that is very important or maybe an essential to look at is the traditional system. Jigawa, we are yes, labeled to be a rural state, and therefore pay much of our respect to our institutions that are existent even before the creation of the state. And we recognize those institutions as a tool, as our tool to maybe navigate us towards the central or maybe any course we want to achieve in the governance. And we all understood very well the importance of these institutions in championing the cause of the local communities. But still, in those years, our ideals and probably allegiance were more to this emirates than probably to our own collective unity. But at present, we have friends, we have people confide in people who are actually not from their towns or local government or even have confidence in most of the people that are living from different areas. And this actually has sent a signal to all of the young persons and even the elders that yes, Jigawa in the near future, whosoever mentioned anything to do with sectoral, ideals, that person actually will not see the light of the day. But and in fact, the young persons around and even the elders began to see the more you engage across the state, the more you are respected, and that is why people always want to see ourselves as Jigawans, not as from either Duse or wherever you come from. And as we've just been elected as local government council chairman, one of the important things we realized that instead for us to be maybe in the first people were trying to maybe aggregate themselves toward their own region or maybe sect or maybe emirates, so to say. But now our measure is to what development did you bring? We've seen our colleagues trying to come up with committees, coming up with programs, just because they want to outshine even their colleagues in terms of developing their local government area. So the competition is about what project and program can you bring to maybe showcase that, yes, you have the capacity and you have the passion for the development of us. So the competition is actually not about where I come from, but what program actually we bring to our own entities. And I think because the speakers have already highlighted, and I've said I'm going to also give my personal opinion, not actually, and of course my experience over the time I've learned. Doctor will bear me witness that in those years when we were students, the same thing happened. Unions were created based on region and what have you, but now it's centralized. And all of us, everyone who took part in those processes will tell you that those experiences now, when we just begin to reflect and remember them, we laughed at ourselves because we've seen that, yes, we are being cajoled actually by myopia or maybe misunderstanding of our own selves at that particular time. So I think my candid opinion, if there is any area that needs to maybe shift the post a little bit, I think it's our in traditional institutions. I look forward to seeing a situation whereby somebody from Duse will be given a district head in Kazore or Hadeja. And I will look forward to seeing somebody from Hadeja being involved in the discussion of the Emirate Council of Duse, so that people will now begin to see our systems has opened windows for everyone to take part in every sector of our national development. Because of the level of our traditional institutions, I think the distinguished senator is here, and he could actually understand the importance as a Hakimi, as a Shetima of Hadeja, will understand the importance probably of having somebody not from Hadeja to be part of the discussions of Hadeja Council, or maybe having somebody Tavan as district head. If someone actually could be given a traditional title from Parawe, Lagos, or somewhere, I think we better begin to recognize and appreciate people who live within the state and identify that. That actually will create a lot of impression that every sector of development will be accommodated, and every of our people actually will contribute to all the sectors of our national development. So I think conclusively, sir, from the political angle, as I have said, over the years of the administration, right from probably 1999 down to this particular period, we've seen progress. And the prognosis is, of course, very commendable. We've seen how governments continue with projects. We've seen how we try to link up the past and the present. And we see, for instance, the present time, where Doctor has said the governor maybe discussed with him that he wants to bring and identify people who think, who he assumed to have some capacity or maybe passion to begin to be guided on how to have a leadership in the future. And now people have begun to understand and maybe see the models. Every one of us now, we have our models, and that model actually creates an impression that yes, inshallah, with what we are seeing and with what our models are doing, if continued coaching is provided and the mentorship is there, believe you me, Jigawa will continue to progress. And we look forward to seeing much of this engagement in our political life and much of this engagement in all sectors of life. And believe you me, sir, inshallah, Jigawa will be the shining star. As we call it, it is not a new state, actually, as mentioned by Doctor, but it will continue to be a new world. It's not a state, but it's going to be a new world, as the title is. Jigawa will continue to shine, and we see our relevance, and wherever we go, you see. I know when Doctor was a minister, he was one of the stars of his time. People were proud to see a young person, and they were even asking, is this guy actually coming from Jigawa State? And we knew what went around, and he represented us very well. And many of our colleagues are there representing the state, and Jigawa State is enjoying. Now we have a lot of them across the board, and everyone is contributing. So Jigawa, what we need as young persons is just the little guidance and of course the little push. Inshallah, we'll get there and Jigawa will continue. And now as young persons, we even begin to identify people who are our genius, begin to pull them together so that they can probably in the near future becomes our friends. And of course, when we get to the elder stage, they will continue to also join the queue. And that's how we want to continue in the future.
Thank you
so as in a nutshell, because of time factor, Jigawa of the past is not actually the Jigawa of the present. Jigawa of the past was in forming stage, and of course, at the stage of formation, you have a lot of misconceptions and of course, probably misunderstanding. But Jigawa of today is a Jigawa of hope, Jigawa of commitment and passion. Jigawa is a Jigawa state where everybody wants to compete with one another on the principles of what you bring to your.
I think. Thank you so much, Malam Balachamu.
Malam Murtala.
Malam Garba.
I think before the next speaker, I would like to ask Malam Honorable Bala Usman Chamo just a single question.
No, please, not now.
No,
please,
it is among our duty as moderators. As moderators,
let us test Baba Yusuf if his technical problem is solved. Then later we entertain questions for like 10 minutes and.
But we are moderators. We are not in the question and answer session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malam Balachamu, Honorable Balachamu. We are very much grateful for this wonderful presentation. You said it all. And Malam Abakar Yahya, don't worry, I will read your question, inshallah. You are asking one important question that must be read.
Malam Murtala, we are moderators. We are not in the question and answer session.
That is why I said I'm inviting Baba Yusuf Megare now to go ahead with his presentation. Baba, can you try now?
I will try. Can you hear me now?
Okay, now yes, it's okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Is it better than
we can hear him, right?
Okay, yes, then I will also show my screen.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Baba.
Okay.
Just go ahead, Baba. Forget about sharing the screen. And just say out your presentation because.
Okay.
Because of time.
Yes, because of time, I have to skip over some of the initial things I've started with in order to quickly go through it. And can you be able to see my screen now, or you cannot see it?
Just go
think,
ahead,
Baba, we
Babu.
can
Forget
just
about the screen.
Okay, I will go ahead.
Later we can share it on the platform so that each and every one of us can see your presentations.
Okay, I will go
Now
ahead.
what
I
we
will
want
go
to
ahead.
hear is your voice and your wisdom, Baba.
That's right. Okay. I will go straight into collective intelligence as a new source of collective empowerment in society. Uh, of course, collective intelligence, as already hinted by Dr. Noura, is about creating a learning society, continuous learning for the society, education, and engagement for what people have learned, so that you don't learn and then you are left in the lurch without, you are stuck, you don't have anything to contribute in the society. It's about creating a learning society, creating a situation whereby people explore areas of research. Educational system becomes more with a better curriculum, especially now that we are in a situation of ubiquity of information technology, and everybody can have access to the internet, and the internet is becoming stronger, revolutionizing the educational system. And youth can now go to courses which are much cheaper than what they were previously, some of them actually given free. So these aspects of collective intelligence even exceeds the level of simply creating a system whereby people will create a fantastic, well-connected, integrated system, but also where people can be able to channel what they have learned for their own personal uh, uh, to enhance their personal productivity, and also get informed. There's also this aspect of collective intelligence, whereby we must avoid a situation of where we become collectively stupid. And ironically, this is a situation which is prevalent now. When we disregard our survival instinct, we resign to the side of non-action, to faulty beliefs in destiny. Our traditions have tied us down to the level that uh, our individual intelligence even has been downgraded, in the sense that your individual intelligence doesn't seem to play a role if it is not networked with other intelligence, or people of similar intelligence, or even much more higher or different variety of intelligence. Because we all know that you can have different type of intelligence: you spatial intelligence, verbal intelligence, mechanical intelligence, figurative intelligence, whereby you are mathematically, acute and high acuity in mathematics and figures and what have you, and artistic intelligence and what have you. So this indeed, it should be our own, target. Indeed, we have to act also. We must be proactive. Otherwise, we keep on breeding children and not developing them, and leaving them to become as almajiris, as Dr. Noor has said. And this is really the situation in Africa, in Nigeria, even in Jigawa State too. We got to revolutionize it and change it. And of course, we have to emulate, new countries that have achieved it. For example, China has achieved it in 10 years' time, from when Deng Xiaoping, took over from Mao Zedong, from 1978 to about 1992. He changed the situation rapidly. They bring a cultural change, and coupled with cognitive design in their education, so that their people become much more sharper in their own intellect. Their schools become better. They were able to, streamline their birth rate, to make it easier to create model primary schools, unlike in our own situation where you have 100 pupils, 150 pupils, in primary and secondary schools. And there was also non-stagnation in the system, in the sense that wherever in the educational system one drops out, one could have something to do. You know, government has designed a system whereby, you know, people can easily, you know, go out of their own redundancy and start being engaged. And this issue of continuous learning was a reality even then when Deng Xiaoping took over. And now in China, they've forgotten about being idle, you know. And the same thing in India, they are catching up. They are reducing their birth rate, you know, they are making their schools better, and also they are engaging their own people. It's one of their own priorities that they don't leave graduates, you know, running around without, you know, engagement. It doesn't mean government has got to give them jobs, but the enabling environment has got to be created. They also add value. They create value chains. They create supply chains monitored by government, if you like, facilitators, who also have, you know, could derive, you know, some financial benefit from whatever entrepreneurial skills that others introduce into the system. So the system is also design oriented. Their institutions and organizations were result based oriented. So they always, you know, use data. They use statistical assessment of what progress they are making. And of course, if we go to, you know, creation of systems and subsystems, we all have to know that all those systems and subsystems have got to have, you know, good characteristics. And the good characteristics of a system should include, you know, goal-seeking entities, all system, institutions in the system, organizations in the system, how even household in the system should have goals. You know, they are entities in their all right, and they should have goals, and they should have, you know, they should be considered how little a subsystem is as holistic in its own entity, that it can contribute, that it should also have its own micro design that will enable it, you know, to perform, and also to keep to be in stream. And then all those systems and subsystems must have internal hierarchy and contingency provisions in case things fail, what they will do, and how they could network and merge and integrate with the whole system. Because we all know systems have got to be open in their own character. They have inputs, throughput, and outputs. And then they should be capable of transforming those inputs into good outputs. And the outputs should be planned and channeled to the best. I could remember when I was a commissioner of agriculture, I was in Israel. Israel was trying to help its own farmers to create a situation whereby an environmental kind of, if you like, context whereby their own farmers will be able to kind of sell their produce at a premium price. So they kind of find a situation whereby globally, wherever there is a shortage of certain agricultural products which Israel can produce, you know, qualitatively, they channel their, or they design their own production and harvesting, so that it will harvest at the moment when it will be sent to places whereby it will charge premium prices. And we must also realize that all systems are susceptible to disorder, that is entropy. So what do? We must, you know, find a way that in case our system, you know, tends towards being grounded, what do? Because systems are generally complex, especially when they have several subsystems. So we must have that in place. And there are details now in the internet how you can deal with that kind of slag and deal with that kind of problem. And there must be loop and feedback system. I get systems that, you know, you can always go back to the drawing table and create a situation. Why? Because relativity is a norm. It prevails wherever we go. We don't have absolute, you know, certainty that something will work perfectly. But whenever we are working with a system, we see how relatively it should be performing, and we should have benchmarks globally how ours will be performing peer to peer with what obtains, you know, in the global economy. And also, there must be assessment of cost and benefits, SWOT analysis, and what have you. So what we tend to fear is that we don't want to go into mathematics, and we can't survive without that. And also, I also want to talk about, that a system should be a complete, if you like, mathematical system whereby it deals with data. And for that reason, you can't leave out, some of the functions of the mathematical system, like demographic function and other functions will not work if you leave that one out. And unfortunately, in Jigawa, in Nigeria, in Africa, we leave out those demographic functions, and we do not care about how rapidly we are multiplying. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me,
Yes,
Murtala?
Baba, we can hear you. We can hear you very well. All of us
Okay, very
can hear
good,
you
very
very
good.
well.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So demographically, we must start thinking not in the archaic 300, 400 years, as Dr. Noor has said. We must be modern. We must try to find, go with the reality of the situation. Use empirical evidence of other countries that have changed the system, have moderated their own demography, always keeping track of their demographic, progression. That's the only way we can progress. But when we leave things to the whims of the wind, then we will create, trouble. Moreover, we have to measure the effectiveness of each organization in the system. Organization as a system, as an entity, or as a process. We must know all those capabilities. And everybody, all stakeholders should know that. And also, we should have a capacity assessment, capacity of the people, the human resource, capacity, how we can fulfill where we have shortage of capable people who will fill in positions and things like that. And all that should be incorporated in the goals of our system, and those goals should be in the minds of all stakeholders concerned. And then, of course, we must, use, examples whereby we don't allow people to derail us. We don't allow people to derail us. Look, for example, the case of China. We have now witnessed that democracy has its own shortcomings too, because China is not the model of a democracy, as we know. It's a one-party state, and yet it has managed to achieve what it has achieved. And it doesn't mean that if you are a communist, you have communist tendency, then you cannot go into the free market. You cannot be capitalistic like China. China is now capitalistic. And we must not, as I said, allow people to drill us in the name of freedom or in the name of democracy. Whoever tries to do that, we must punish them. For example, we now know the example of how China crashed. The Chinese government crashed the democratic process in the Tiananmen Square in 1989. Their youth came. I don't know what prompted them. China was at the very cornerstone, if you like, or at the crossroad of breaking through. And I don't know who instigated those youth. They remained for weeks in the Tiananmen Square. China has got to crash that, because you can't allow the progress of millions of people to be crashed, to be stalled by some few people.
Baba, we are enjoying your talk. We are enjoying it very much, but the time is not on our side. Actually, can you go to conclusion now?
Yes, I can go to my conclusion. My conclusion will be as follows. I'm going now to my conclusion. My closing remark is as follows. System thinking is a large part of collective intelligence. We need to think, in unison. Number two, feedback and continuity are core concepts of system thinking. You cannot think and in a system way without a feedback. You go to the drawing table. You take all aspects of the system into cognizance while you keep on running it. So you must think in models, think in processes, and the ability to steer the system like a ship, so that steering it away from iceberg, from places where it could, get grounded, to the high seas where it will fly freely and then fish for you and create wealth for you. And then system thinking abilities and mindsets are clearly needful. We need it badly now, yet it's hard to develop because even among very educated people, they've got to change their traditional way of thinking. Dr. Nura has said that and has repeated that. And then system diagrams, logistics, matrix, designs using computers and what have you are crucial for system thinking and communicating the knowledge that everybody should imbibe, the idea, the mindset, and what have you. Causal, loops, diagrams, and what have you should be understood by everybody, schematic, roadmaps, mind maps, and what have you. And then the concept and practice of system thinking should be included in any education program at any age in the society. Therefore, in our ever crowding, rapidly changing Jigawa state, ever crowding because of our population, which is multiplying rapidly beyond what we can more or less handle, comfortably, there is a need to strengthen system thinking as well of thinking in terms of systems, not only of collective intelligence, but of value chains, of supply chains, of whatever we are naturally endowed with, like agriculture in Jigawa State, the Hadeja Valley, and what have you, how we can modernize, how we can use agriculture to modernize, using organic, products and things like that. And then collective intelligence should be enforced as a mindset, and then problem identification and solution should also be focused on. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Baba. We are very much grateful for this wonderful presentation. We are sorry for the technical glitch you have been experiencing since from the beginning of this presentation, or from the beginning of this discussion.
Yes,
Garba, please
down.
come back. I want to add you so that, yeah. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think now we can entertain questions from our audience. Those of you that are following us on our Facebook page, Reconnect Jigawa, you can ask your questions in the comment section now. I can see there were so many questions from people like Abubakar Yahya, Barista Sinusi Kazaure, and Malam Isa Siraju. Please, if you are close, you can ask your questions. Okay, I think for Abubakar Yahya is here. He said, why is that the political class or the elites find it convenient to talk of Jigawa and unity of Jigawa, but most of the actions and utterances of the same set of elites have tended to be more of their zone's local government or region. This is largely seen in the sharing of dividends of democracy. Why the mismatch between their talks and actions and actual intentions? Which lesson are they leaving to future generations? So many questions in one. Who is going to answer this question? He's talking to the elite.
I think we can all give
Okay, you can
Hello?
all give your remarks, or you can
just
all
1 minute, 1 minute, or 2 minutes.
Okay. 1 minute response for this question from each and every one of our presenters.
Present.
Yeah, starting from you, sir. Our keynote address. Our keynote address presenter, Barrister Senator Ibrahim. She's talking. Abubakar Yahya is asking the elite class, why you are why their actions, why their words are not the same with their actions. Sir.
I don't know whether I would qualify as a member of that elite political class, but I can assure him that I think it all depends. Sometimes we get confused about the different political offices that most politicians are holding. There are offices that are statewide in nature, and so you cannot afford to say that because you are a commissioner in Jigawa today, or you are a deputy governor or governor, you would want to do things based on where you come from, either from the emirate perspective or local government perspective. I think that is wrong. But of course, you now have political offices that are limited to a constituency. You don't expect a local government chairman, for example, from Duse, to take his meager allocation and say that because he has a friend in Hadeja, let him go and donate 1 or 2 projects to him. We face the same problem. I, for one, I'm a senator now for the last 2 years. This is the very first time I've held an office that's limited to a constituency. I've considered each and every one of my positions, be it the commissioner, be it secretary to the state government, be it deputy governor, as statewide. And I'm able to say that I don't think anyone can point a finger in my direction and say that while I was holding any of those offices, I exhibited these primordial tendencies that the questioner is talking about. So yeah, there may be some people who are confused about the office they are holding, and they believe that because you are a commissioner for XYZ, let me go and focus on my local government or put that local government first. It happens, and where it happens, I have had cause to call people to correct them and explain to them that we have a state policy, and that state policy has to apply it without favor to where you're coming from. So, but again, I think part of the problem is that people are confused. When you are a commissioner, the tendency is that maybe people from your area would naturally put pressure on you, expecting that you favor them over and above your larger responsibility. So it's not just a question of the political elite. Sometimes I think at the lower level, we have to acknowledge that people are a bit confused about these offices and where they pretend. You have a joint ticket governor, deputy governor, you are voted for across 27 local governments, and someone expects that everything you do should dovetail within a certain area. They even throw questions at you. What have you done for XYZ local government since you assumed office? So it's a two-way thing to the questioner. I think we need to create political awareness. I think we need to enlighten our people about the various responsibilities that are attached to various political positions. And if there is less pressure on these office holders, I think this problem would largely go away.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Nura, Baba Yusuf Megari, I think system thinking can solve this problem.
Unmute yourself, Baba.
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself.
Baba.
Yes, the issue is that we shouldn't try to blame each other. I will now make a small, groupings of the stakeholders. For instance, the political leaders, the traditional Islamic, leaders, as well as the clergymen amongst us, the rich people, those who are commercially gifted, and they made money, fortune out of businesses. And then, of course, the general masses. So each one of these groupings, one way or the other, you belong to one of them. And you could belong to 2 or 3 of them. It all depends. But then you should not, think of blaming. You may think of what do you contribute? How could people, gain from your own inputs into the system? You should feel, you have relevance, you have importance too. So in that regard, the political leaders should have at the back of their mind, the goal of making the society, creating a situation whereby they teleguide the society towards a better society, using, of course, the traditional and Islamic rulers, if you like, as well as the clergymen. Because if you are preaching progress and the clergymen are preaching something different, and people tends to incline to that, you cannot make progress, especially when you are trying to make people change their own the speed at which they marry out their young children, and the rate at which they go about marrying more wives and producing more children that they cannot care for, when they believe in destiny without giving any contribution from your own self. Because I usually used to to tell people that in Hausa, I keep a buying you cannot rely on fate and destiny to teleguide your life. You cannot remain at home and think that your farm is going to be fully cultivated by angels and what have you. And then you get a good harvest and you become rich, your children become doctors, engineers, and what have you, without taking them to school, without struggling and planning for everything. And it seems our people are aversive to planning. So I don't want blaming. I don't want to blame anybody. I don't want anybody amongst the groups to blame the other person. If we have anybody to blame, why not go back and blame ourselves in the shortcomings where we are lagging behind, assess our own weaknesses, and think of how to improve our lives. This is my own answer to it.
Thank you. Thank you, Baba. Dr. Nura.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
We can hear you.
Gaskiya, just like the distinguished senator said, it's a very difficult question. These are instances where people will say everyone to their tent. You cannot respond to such questions that are very general, except from your specific experiences and past records. Kamar yadda ake cewa a Hausa, in an buta ɓarau, a buta mai kadu. There's a cause and effect to this scenario. Tun daga unguwarku, tun daga cikin gidanku, da unguwarku, da mazaɓarku, da local government, za a fara cewa me yayi, ai bai da amfani. Just like Senator was saying, they didn't know the nature of your office. So everyone, either elected or appointed, is somehow struggling with this pressure of how will his people remember him when he leaves office. So the people, according to our collective wisdom, let me borrow from Baba Megari, have a criterion. We rate our political office holders and elected officials with. That may be completely, sometimes at clash with their actual responsibilities. So I think that perhaps pushes people to become very nepotistic in thinking, so that when they go back home, or when they come for elections next time, people don't ask them, after all, nobody went and checked your schedule of duty and find out why. So this is from the people. But of course, there are inherently nepotistic people who, whether they have pressure from their constituencies or not, they are naturally that small in their minds and like to view things from we versus them. That's academic. But Nima, I will just speak for myself. I will give an instance. Just about a year after I entered office, a permanent secretary in the Federal Civil Service Commission came to my office. Incidentally, he's from Jigawa too then. And he told me of the vacancies we have at the Federal Civil Service Commission. And that somehow he realized that myself and the chairperson then of the commission, Mrs. Ojo, were very good friends. So why not approach her? She was a difficult person, but I have realized that she speaks highly of you. Very elderly woman. So I said, why not? So I put in my trick hat, and after a couple of months, she told me herself that, you, Jigawa, you have more than 100 vacancies. You know, my son, come and collect it. She called the permanent secretary, not knowing that he was part of the plot. You know, go and all the vacancies of Jigawa, go and give it to my son. Wasn't the leader sharing? You know, I submitted to the state head of service. He's there today, he can confirm that. I wouldn't mention names, but the person who was head of service between 2011 and 2015, you know, if anyone will approach him in Jigawa, he will confirm this. We took it 100% to him, knowing that this is a Jigawa property. And as distinguished senator was saying, it depends on the chair you held, whether you're representing the whole state or a certain zone. I can still remember a serving senator that time, got to know of this gesture from me. He told me, so I'm giving my own personal experience, and I have touched on the theories on why such things are possible. The people should look into themselves too. I didn't show mutane ba su da amfani saboda ba su kawo komai gida ba. Ana tada musu hankali. You know, su shiga su dinga irin waɗannan abubuwan da ba su dace ba, gaba ɗaya mulkin al'umma ya lalace a rasa inda za a kama. Kowa yana tunanin ƙauyensu da local government su da zone ɗinsu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Garba, I think you should be preparing to invite a premier of Nigeria.
I think.
Okay,
I need to
Malam Bala. I'm sorry, Honorable. You are
Before that, I have a question.
the right elite to answer the question. Let us hear your perspective about the question.
I listened to the comments given by the previous speakers, and I think it's a very difficult question actually. However, as far as I'm concerned, it's a question that can be placed on demand and supply continuum. For instance, people should know what they demand from whoever is representing them, and at what time do they think their demand could be achieved. And also, people who are at the top, or maybe the leaders, should know what they should supply to their constituents. It is, as explained by HE, when you are occupying a position, that position should determine what your constituent is. And we all understood what the previous speakers have said. But actually, the key things, as far as I'm concerned, is of course to enlighten the public to understand what they demand is appropriate or not appropriate for that particular individual. And of course, sometimes the leaders create an opportunity for people to be suspicious, because there are smart people around who understand what you are giving them actually did not belong to them. So by the time you brought in something that they know is not theirs because of your maybe access, that creates a platform for them to understand, yes, if we push more, then Oga will bring more to us. So I think it is all about the two angles. We should look at those who make the demands, and of course also look at those who make the supplies. So this question is a very tricky question actually. Whosoever is there want to do one thing, but actually when we confine ourselves to the appropriateness of doing things, then certainly all the questions of who does what at a time. And as mentioned by Hechi, people should be measured according to the constituencies they represent at a time. And if you deliver at whatever constituency, I think it's enough for one to take the credit of the governance he has already given in that capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. This also answered the question. I think, yeah, go ahead with your question.
I have sent the link to the premier and he is trying to join now. My question I have been experiencing some technical issues because people are trying to call me and it usually interfere with my network. That's why I have to be battling to make sure everything is okay. My question with Honorable Bala Usman Chamo on the Democracy Day, we had the president blaming the governors, the state governors, for the resistance to give or to make sure to bring the stability of the local government. And among the tactics those governors used to put in place is that they used to bring some incompetent chairman, local government chairman in some local government. So as a chairman, everyone believes that you are competent and you are academically very affluent to head the affairs of your local government. And also as the Algon chairman, Jigawa State, what effort are you putting in place to make sure that since Jigawa is not excluded in including those incompetent chairmen into its councils, what effort are you putting in place to make sure that you maybe strengthen their capacity and make them deliver what they're supposed to do to the local people?
Okay.
That's my question
Okay.
to you.
Thank
and
you,
also,
Dr.
and
Okay.
before that,
before you answer the question, please let me couple
Okay.
it with another question from Malam Isa Sirajo so that you can answer the two together, and we invite Masbahu Saadu Kiri for the closing remarks. Thank you so
no,
much,
there is the premier is there to also give his remarks.
Yes, that is why I said let me relieve his distinguished senator to go, because we can only entertain 6 people on the platform at a time.
Okay.
So thank you so much for your time. You were really enduring. We know your schedules
the program is coming to you by with combined effort of New World Youth Initiative and Reconnect Jigawa.
Can I respond
now? Distinguished Senator, I will relieve you from the studio now.
I wish you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Male Isa Sirajo, let me read the question for you.
Okay. I think I have the questions raised by Malam Garba. Can I respond?
Okay.
Can I answer the question, please?
Sir, before that, the questions are two. One is person specific, that is for you, and the other is general, that everybody on the screen can respond to it. Hello, can you hear me?
I cannot hear you.
I said the first question is person specific, is just for you, while my second question is general. Everyone in the screen can respond to it.
Yeah.
The second question. The second question is that now we are celebrating Jigawa at 30. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay. As we are celebrating Jigawa at 30, you people in the screen are Jigawa of today. And 30 years before now, you are not those that are leading Jigawa State. Are you optimistic? Looking at the way we are living, are you optimistic about our future? That's the question.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you so
much.
The
response to the first question,
before you respond to his question, let me read Malam Isa Sirajo's question. He's asked you, being part of the local government, what are you doing about the low quality of teachers and their low number? It is disheartening that with good incentive for teachers in Jigawa State, the learning outcome at basic education remains low.
Yeah.
What are you doing about the quality of education?
I think first and foremost is when Mr. President made the statements that some state governors are actually the problems of the local government administration. I can testify to you that even if state governors are doing that, Jigawa is not doing that. Not because I am a local government chairman, even though there is a constitutional provision for each state to have a JAC account, joint account. And this joint account is constitutional. But we know of a state where salaries are not given to all, even the civil servant, talk less of the political class. But in Jigawa State, once the money is paid to the treasury of the state, or maybe the local, the JAC account, disbursement is made across the state, all the local government chairman will be there. Dependent upon what you have from the federation accounts, that determines what we get. And we've known in Jigawa State is the only state where local government who even have deficit. The state government complements from the state treasury to make it augments the activities of the local government. We've seen local government even in our neighbors. We've gone around the few days we have in the office to see and learn what other states are doing. We've known of a state where local government chairmen are given flat rate of an amount of money, very abysmal amount of money, for regardless of how much and what amount of money you receive from the federation account. It's only in the Jigawa State that we are given monies according to the statutory allocations you've been given. And even the remaining funds that remains in your account, for you to execute any project, you have to come back with a work plan, at least to justify what the remaining funds will be spent for. So as far as I'm concerned, the governor, I believe, he has given the autonomy to the local government. If now, for instance, JAC account is deleted, believe you me, I doubt if the state governor will hesitate in giving the entire money, or maybe not taking part in anything to do with the local government. Even at this moment, there isn't anything actually the state governor is doing directly or indirectly, maybe with the funds of the local government. We've gone around, we met with the local government ministry, we've seen the statutory, but now it's the only thing that probably is the reason, as far as I'm concerned, in Jigawa, that actually is because of the joint account. But at any point in time, that clause is removed from the constitution. Believe you me, the governor of Jigawa State will notice it. But of course, many other states are actually having problems. We've seen states, like for instance, take the Paris Club funds. When it was paid, many state governors did not even give a dime to their local government, despite the fact that that fund is for the state and the local government. But in Jigawa State, that fund was appropriately shared with the local governments in Jigawa State. And it's only state, I think, that has done that under the leadership of Governor Badr Abubakar. So what I'm saying, yes, there is that statement. Yes, there is that problem. But in Jigawa State, I doubt if that since ever exists or is existing. And to the second question, as what we are doing as new local government chairman in terms of capacity and what have you. Yes. In the local government, we know we've said it. From the set of people that are brought in, Doctor has made this clear, has said it, and many people are saying that at least for now, people of some level of capacity and integrity are considered to administer the local government council. And even the governor, when we were accepting during our swearing in, we rose and we made statements that first and foremost is supposed to pay our allegiance to him as the governor based on what he is doing. At least to single out this colony of people to gladiate or maybe lead the affairs of local government is enough testimony that there is a very goodwill with the system to bring people to begin to see how things are done actually. If you go to other places, or at least if you look at the previous local government settings, I'm not condemning any, but you know probably there you can testify there is a level of improvement in terms of capacity and of course in terms of passion to administer to the individual's local government. And as local government chairman, the first and the second thing we do apart from taking that solemn decision is supposed to meet regularly and engage to ensure that we have a platform that support one local government and another. If, for instance, my local government has a challenge, I will not hesitate to engage Kawa to say, please, no, even though he's not giving me financial commitment, but I will look at strategies to see how we can improve the affairs of local government. Like, for instance, during the cholera pandemic, or maybe epidemics that happened in some states, in Jigawa State, we met several times. We shared information just to make sure that. So I think we have a lot of reasons, and if we look forward, inshallah, this set of local government
enough
council
time for this
will give
question.
a
The
true
next question,
implementation of
please.
The question regarding your optimism. Hello?
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Are you optimistic looking at the youth of today?
Yeah. One of the things
the
that make me to be optimistic, one of the things that can make one to be optimistic is that every young person in Jigawa State now look for reasons to justify his political decisions. And everybody is now being objective. People are saying who is capable, who has the capacity to even determine what political future the state should have. And based on what we've seen, even our leaders are trying to identify people of some integrity and capacity to lead the affairs of the state. Even an ordinary man now understands the importance of having a capacity at the helm of the affairs of our leadership. And we've seen them. We've seen our leaders. We have very capable individuals as our leaders who are there everywhere. And we have young people with potentials to even the lead. As I mentioned earlier, it's just a little stimulations to maybe provoke that desire for us to improve Jigawa State forever, inshallah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
What of the question about quality of education from Malam Isa Sirajo?
Oh, yeah.
I know why
Okay, the
he's
quality
asking
of
that.
education, let me respond also to that. As local government chairman, one of the things that when we came on board, we realized actually there is a problem to do with our recruitment and even teacher for deployment in the state. We went to the governor, His Excellency, and we said to him, sir, we have this, especially if we look at the salary payment. In Duse, for instance, we pay more than 88 million naira to teachers' salary. And if you go around, there are some local governments, I mean, some schools that have, of course, limited number. But as a chairman of DUSE, what I looked at, of course, is the distribution, ratio of the distribution. What we learned is there are a lot of people who actually not from there. Some people marry their wives, came back to DUSE for working, and they transfer their services to DUSE. And therefore, most of the colonies of these women reside within the Tromol. So there is a skewed distributions of the staff in that state. And as I'm talking to you, we have the same case if you go to all the local government, Hajeja, Gazaure, Gumel, you look at the ratio of the teacher recruitment or maybe on their payroll outweigh the number of other pay staff in that particular LG. That is why they have a problem. And it's becoming worrisome. We've seen maybe continuous, number of amount of money being paid despite the continued retirement from the civil service. So what we did is, of course, look at that document. We now began to come up with a strategy to look at the ratio of distribution, to look at the staffing of that LGA and to see what we can do. Even if it means rationing them out, of course, we have no option but to ration them out to have more qualified individuals into the system to go and teach our younger ones. And just the revenue allocation have left Jigawa last week, and inshallah things will improve. By the time the financial allocation improves, that will give more room for us, of course, to hire more and, of course, distribute more from the schools. And the governor is willing to support and is supporting, and all the even unions are willing, and the local government and chairman are committed, of course, to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Bala Usman. People like you in the we are optimistic that Jigawa will be better, inshallah. Thank you so much. I think it is time to invite Malam Ahmad Siraja Kiao Premier, who is convener for the New World Youth Initiative, to give us the closing remarks. And before that, I would like to tell our viewers, followers, that inshallah we will try and look at the possibility of organizing this program in Hausa language next time, because most of the people are complaining about the language we are using for the discussion. So inshallah next time we will look at the possibility of our presentation to be Malam Ahmad Siraj, please give us your closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can you hear me? Due to the time factor, I think I will just stand on the protocol already established. Our meeting here, in spite of our commitments, reveals our determination and dedication to the objective of setting up Jigawa State for the betterment of the Jigawa citizens. Our meeting here points to the abiding faith we all share in these possibilities. New World Youth Initiative is a new group, a new development group, a pressure group, an advocacy group, and a societal development group. New World Youth Initiative, which has building youth for the future as her motto, is here in Jigawa State to build youth programs with youth centers which conduct recreational, sporting, cultural, educational, and other activities to enhance individual and collective creativity, a sense of worth, social responsibility, and patriotism among our youth, and the harnessing of their energy for building communal harmony, strengthening the fabric of our society and nation, and with the objective of building Jigawa State youth as worthy leaders of tomorrow. This is the reason why we will be giving priority to cultural moral authority, as it develops slower than the institutionalized or visionary moral authority. But ultimately, it is the key to developing a harmonious society. This key lies not in government, which represents force or law, nor in private individuals or private business organizations, which represent freedom. It lies within individuals and groups adopting common meaning and values that are truly connected to their hearts and minds. This is the underlying assumptions behind the thinking and writings of Adam Smith, the author of The Wealth of Nations. Long before he wrote this classic, he wrote a book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments. This work, which was fundamental to his later works, including The Wealth of Nations, was based on the idea that intentional virtue and goodwill are the foundation of both an economic system of a free enterprise and a political system of a representative democracy. He acknowledged that if individual virtue deteriorated, neither free enterprise nor democracy could ultimately survive. Therefore, we must call on our youth to wake up to their responsibilities and to know that building or achieving excellence in society is a collective responsibility. It feels great to be amongst peers, equals, and compatriots. Facing an august occasion like this, in a time like this, gives me thrills of joy and feels of ecstasy. This happiness, though, won't make my spirit to deviate from the problems facing the Jigawa State youth today. Though I am not new to governance, I was a one-time president, Student Union Government, Federal University, Duse, a one-time the Zonal Secretary of NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students. Indeed, this should send a strong message that I am here to work for the betterment of the youth, the government, and the populace in general. Government is not a warrior's responsibility. I plan to take everyone along in this journey of youth salvation. New World Youth Initiative is my brainchild, along with those of other important comrades. This movement was born out of the pure and unadulterated desire to take the Jigawa youth to the next.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So lastly,
not on our side as I am saying.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank Jigawa New World. I would like to use this opportunity to extend our appreciation to our presenters, especially
Happy 30 years anniversary.
And Malam Honorable Dr. Nuruddin Muhammad, distinguished Senator Ibrahim Hassan, and all our viewers that are together with us from the beginning of this program till now. We are very much sorry for the technical hitches that we have been facing at the beginning, but Alhamdulillah, we are very sure the message is now extended to our viewers and followers, and we are very much sure that happy that Jigawa is starting, and we will have a brighter future in the next coming years, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you so much.
Islam.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.